I'm your host Nadim Majid. Let's get started with our top story this week. Amid the protests, opposition and delays, China has announced that it will be delaying the proposed $1.5 billion investment in the Hambantota port, which is a strategic node for China in its 21st century maritime Silk Road concept.
Chinese Ambassador Yi Jianling told the Alumni Association of the University of Colombo that China will be patient until Sri Lanka clears legal and political obstacles related to the deal with operating the Hambantota port and the investment zone.
Not happened yet. No contract, no agreement between China and Sri Lanka yet. Just one framework agreement on the deal about the port. How about the port? Port belongs to Sri Lanka, totally follows Sri Lanka regulations. China is just pay $1.1 billion to be 80% of the share to operate the port. And also I talked with the Prime Minister. This is flexible. At the quite beginning, I talked with Prime Minister. 85, 80, or whatever the percentage. So the issue is that we fully respect the government decision and the consensus of the people, Sri Lankan people. We have no any intention to intervene the internal differences between politicians or between political groups. I do believe these big projects will be most important for Sri Lanka in the future under the initiative of the Silk Road. So we go ahead or we stop here. I remember the instruction of my president, keep patient. I have time, I have patience. But, I'm worried about patience from the business people. I already persuaded more than 10 Chinese big CEOs to invest $3 to $5 billion in next 2 or 3 years. How can I persuade those CEOs? Most of them, they are, belong to the 500 fortunes, the biggest. They cannot come time by time to talk with me. So I asked them, you should go to Sri Lanka leaders to talk with them. You should get the answer from Sri Lanka leaders, not me.
Protests backed by opposition politicians broke out against the project, with residents saying they feared their lands would be seized. However, China's envoy to Sri Lanka said Chinese firms will not take land for an industrial zone and Chinese-managed port in the island's south against the people's wishes, but warned that investors could lose patience if delays and uncertainty against the projects continued.
I promised to them we will not take the land without permission from your own, from the families. This is the first. The second, the land and the port, it's Sri Lanka's port, Sri Lanka land, Sri Lanka zone. In China we have so many zones. We have special zone for Singapore, 4 special zones for Singapore. But this is open to all the other countries. We welcome anyone to invest in the zone. Second, I talked with the district secretary yesterday. At the first stage, we will not get any land from the farmers. We just use the current BRI land as it for the zone.
The ambassador said China's proposed One Belt, One Road initiative to review the maritime Silk Route stands to benefit Sri Lanka, given its strategic location on main east-west trade route across the Indian Ocean. Sri Lanka had backed the initiative to modernize transport infrastructure to improve trade from the start, he said, delivering a memorial oration held by the Alumni Association of the University of Colombo.
Let's now take a look at some other stories that made headlines this week.
A Reuters report says that the Sri Lankan rupee continues to be weaker, hurt by imported dollar demand, even as concerns of further depreciation continued to weigh. The market expects a 4 to 5% fall in the currency this year. Finance Minister Ravi Karunanayake has said that protecting a fragile rupee was more important than controlling interest rates, as the local currency tended not to rebound after depreciating. However, Central Bank Governor Indrajit Kumaraswamy said last week the bank was not planning to abruptly stop supporting the rupee. The central bank has allowed the currency to gradually depreciate since mid-December, revising its spot reference rate multiple times. It has said that defending the currency with foreign exchange reserves does not seem sensible. The rupee has weakened 0.47% so far this year, under pressure due to rising imports and net selling of government securities by foreign investors. It fell 3.9% last year, following a 10% drop in 2015.
When Britain voted to leave the European Union last year, it caused some concerns in Kenya, where growers were afraid that it would impact the fresh flower market, the source of major foreign exchange for that country. This year, drought and delays over an economic partnership agreement with the European Union, accompanied by slowed growth over the Valentine's season, has caused further concerns. Let's have a look.
Valentine's Day is one of the busiest seasons of the year for Kenyan flower producers. Growers were expecting higher returns this year, with new markets opening up in South Korea and Australia. But demand only went up slightly compared to last year, according to the Kenya Flower Council. Slow growth has been attributed to Britain's decision to leave the European Union, which has weakened the sterling pound. Vandenberg, one of the leading flower farms in Kenya, is based in the Rift Valley town of Naivasha, the country's horticulture hub. The 73-hectare farm has a workforce of more than 1,000 workers who produce about 16 million stems of roses per month. The company does not export to Britain, but administration manager for the farm, George Ongeni, said they had been affected. Traders are especially busy around Valentine's season, although many complained that prices had gone up, with one rose stem retailing at 50 US cents. Bernard Ketensi has been selling flowers for the last 5 years. He says the price has been rising steadily and customers have been few, especially because vendors are not allowed to hawk their products outside markets. One of the biggest concerns for flower growers is a pending deal with the European Union, Kenya's biggest market. There is lingering uncertainty around the Economic Partnership Agreement, which gives products from East African Community member states duty-free and quota-free access to the EU as long as they meet health and safety standards. Kenya and Rwanda signed the agreement, but it needs approval from all members of the East African Community. Tanzania said it would not sign the agreement and urged neighboring countries to back a delay pending discussions on its effect on the region's manufacturers.
On the other side of this break, exercises and yoga postures you can do while at work. Welcome back to the program. On our segment Trending Today, we're going to take a look at exercises and yoga postures that you can do while at work. Let's loosen up.
Hi, I'm Jessica Canizales from With Grace and Joy, and thank you for joining Trending Today. We're going to talk today a little bit about ways that people who spend a lot of time in the office can relax, open up their body, connect better with their breath, and optimize their general health and well-being. So today we're going to work seated at our desk like we often are, taking a look at our shoulder girdle. So we're going to just take a moment, You want to join me sitting at your desk, taking your hands here to heart center, just pressing into the palms, tucking the chin, and bringing the belly into the spine. After you spend a few breaths here, and then we're going to rise the arms, but not the shoulders. Again, bringing awareness to our spine, elongating our bodies, and using our breath. From here, we'll open the arms out to the side, and we'll go ahead and bring right back up and left back down, and just bending at the elbows, trying to reach your hands. If you can't reach, that's okay. Just keep your head and chin lifted, and keep with the intention, holding here for a few breaths. And we'll go ahead and take it to the other side after you've spent a few breaths, rising the left, bringing the right down, and again, clasping your arms here, keeping your gaze upward and utilizing your breath. From here, we'll release the arms and just take the hands and place them in your lap. You're going to just take a few shoulder rolls, really creating tension in our neck and shoulders, and then releasing it through the breath. So as we inhale, we're pulling up, and as we exhale, we're letting go, both of the breath and of the tension. So this is a good one. You don't need any warming up to do. It just allows the upper back and the neck to relax. We'll go ahead and take the neck now into some nice rolls, either in a fluid motion, or if that feels a little too intense, you can just take it one direction at a time, still creating a nice rounded stretch, side, forward.
Get up, get down, everybody move your body. Let me see you shake that body. Come on and work that body. Drop it like a hot. Get up, get down, everybody move your body. Let me see you. Get up, get down, everybody move your body. Let me see you shake that.
So if you're in a seated position at your desk, you can just simply take a nice little twist, twisting first at the waist, then ribs, then shoulders, and last your head. You can use your chair to create some resistance, or you can just simply take a nice passive twist. Again, using the breath to augment the benefits of the posture. And then you would just take it to the other side. So again, you can use the arm, or even grabbing onto the back of the chair, or you can take it a little more gentle, keeping your hands on your lap. Another exercise I would like to share with you today is utilizing the power of mudra. So in Sanskrit, mudra translates to seal. So mudras are a way to seal your energetic intention or your energetic spirit. So today we're going to work with what we call the dynamic mudra. And this is a mudra that moves each of your fingers into the thumb, making a firm, intentional contact. You can just repeat this. You can use mantra to aid in this little moment of Zen, or you can use your breath, just breathing in and out with each finger press. This mudra has a lot of benefits. It is said to be a catalyst for change in your life. It's said to help promote a balanced harmony within the body's organ systems. And it's also said to improve memory and concentration of your brain. So you can take this for as little as a minute to 5 minutes, and you can even repeat these intervals 3 to 5 times a day.
It's fun to stay at the YMCA. It's fun to stay at the YMCA. They have everything for your men to enjoy. You can hang out with all the boys. It's fun to stay at the YMCA. It's fun to stay at the YMCA. You can get yourself.
What if there was an online service that helps you to understand and compare complex insurance policies and simplified procurement? Save Your Monkey might be just what you're looking for.
Save Your Monkey, a brand that envisions to make insurance accessible to all by simplifying the process of procuring a policy through an online platform, was launched in Colombo this week. SaveYourMonkey.com allows consumers to compare multiple insurance quotations and procure a policy immediately, while Save Your Monkey Insurance Brokers facilitates the entire process. The service is also set to deliver the policy documents to the doorstep of the consumer.
Save Your Monkey was set up, or at least that's what we envision, is to be a champion for the consumer. So we want to be there to provide unbiased information, at least when it comes to insurance in this case, and give people the opportunity to make a good decision.
The brand says they are hoping to extend the service to vehicle, travel, housing and other general insurance policies.
Coming up on the other side, plans for the Bay of Bengal. Welcome back to Biz First Review 360. With South and East Asian nations increasing their focus on the Bay of Bengal, what does the future hold for the area? The Trincomalee consultations got underway in Colombo this week, organized by the Pathfinder Foundation, co-hosted by the Carnegie India think tank. I caught up with Santosh Jha of the Policy Planning Division of the Ministry of External Affairs of India on the sidelines of the consultations. Well, on the sidelines of the Trincomalee consultations, organized by the Pathfinder Foundation and co-hosted by Carnegie India, we're talking with Mr. Santosh Jha, who is the Joint Secretary Policy Planning at the Ministry of External Affairs, Government of India. Mr. Jha, first and foremost, I want to ask you, Trincomalee consultations, a very interesting subject. We're talking about Bay of Bengal connectivity. Recently, there's been a lot of discussion about the Trincomalee harbour in Sri Lanka and India's interest or lack of interest in it. There's been the media reports have been vague, to say the least. Would you care to shed some clarity on this subject?
Look, I think it is related to the broader connectivity agenda that we have. We can't be more integrated. We can't have more interchange, which is mutually beneficial within the region if we are not more connected. And to that extent, Trincomalee consultations is the right forum, that it's talking about the right issues. The test would be in how we craft the way forward. That actually is the main issue. I do not think that anything we do in the region in terms of building ports or roads or railway connections or even ferry and coastal shipping, etc., is not going to benefit us. The point is that how we go about it, what we do with it, is there a benefit for the people who are actually going to be the beneficiaries? That should be the bottom line.
Mr. Jha, throughout the forum, we've heard the views of different stakeholders in the Bay of Bengal. From your point of view, what were the biggest concerns when it comes to increased connectivity and linkages between these countries towards prosperity? What are the biggest concerns?
No, connectivity, there cannot be a concern related to connectivity per se, because it's a good thing to happen, not just only because of the interchange that I spoke about, but also the very fact that connectivity is a form of economic activity. If you build ports, it leads to more jobs, it leads to economic prosperity by itself, and it brings people more together to be able to do commerce, so which means greater prosperity over a longer term. The idea, however, that how we go about it is what I mentioned in response to your first question, is that how we go about is very important, because whether the specific port that you're building or a specific power plant that you're building has undergone the sufficient amount of due diligence, whether it will be good for the country, good for the region, will lead to economic benefits, and will be able to make up the money for the investment that is being made. That's very critical, because if you continue to have unviable or not so viable investments, the people ready to finance it, the financial institutions coming out to invest may not be interested any further.
Mr. Jha, I was asking this question previously as well about China's increased presence in the Bay of Bengal region. with other countries, especially the BIMSTEC countries. Is this a cause of concern for India?
Look, I said this as much in my speech, that we are not really talking about precluding participation of others in the region, so long as we remain the prime beneficiaries and we remain the prime drivers of the developments. And when I say we, it is not India that I'm talking about, but the region as a whole, the people, the countries in the region. So from that perspective, anybody who is willing to make a contribution, anybody who is willing to make a meaningful contribution, a viable contribution, anybody who is ready to come and play a positive role in the region should be welcome. We are not for excluding anybody.
Does it raise any security concerns?
Well, I mean, security is a loaded term. It can mean something to some and others something else to the others. But if you look at it, even in my speech earlier today, I spoke about how security and economic linkages are mutually supportive, they reinforce each other, and they must go hand in hand. The fact of the matter is that if you are building an infrastructure in the region, if it's going to benefit the people, it must come with sufficient security.
Mr. Jha, when we're talking about BIMSTEC, there is an increased focus on BIMSTEC in the Bay of Bengal now. Does this mean that SAARC is now a dead fish?
I did hear some people say that, but I don't quite agree with it. SAARC is something that we are deeply committed to. It is an organization that has already moved forward in a number of areas. The fact that it is not moving forward now is specifically related to a singular issue that the world is grappling with and this region is grappling with, which is terrorism. So while I don't think that we should be looking at frameworks in the region, other frameworks in the region, as replacing the previous ones that may be covering the part of this region. Each has its own purpose, and each will move at its own pace. Remember that, the SAARC had a particular context, and BIMSTEC has a different context. It is talking about connectivity between South Asia and Southeast Asia. It's about Bay of Bengal waters. It is a different set of countries. There are 4 SAARC countries as well, but there are other sets of countries that are involved in this region. So it has its own agenda, and it has its own imperatives, I would say. And it is growing out of the fact that all our countries in this region are moving forward more rapidly than they were doing in the recent past. And there is therefore a greater scope for fostering greater collaboration, more cooperation among these partners.
One final question, Mr. Jha. What are you hoping will be the outcome? What are the results that you're looking for through the Trincomalee consultations?
You see, a number of specific suggestions has already come in the forenoon. They will continue this afternoon and tomorrow. We do look forward to the recommendations that comes out of it. I think there is already quite a bit happening in this particular region. Some in the BIMSTEC framework, but others more at a bilateral level between India and Bangladesh, or India and Myanmar, or India and Nepal, India and Sri Lanka. And if we just up the ante on these and try to build on our existing gains, as I said earlier in the morning, that we have a new commitment to implementation. And having worked in Sri Lanka, initiated projects here in 2010 rather, 9-10 period, I have a particular satisfaction in seeing many of those projects being completed on time. So when I say that implementation is a new emphasis under this government of India, these are things that you see right here in Sri Lanka in operation.
Mr. Jha, thank you once again for taking time off to speak to Biz First TV.
Thank you, my pleasure.
Before we wrap up the program, here's some advice for the entrepreneur in you.
Sir Richard Charles Nicholas Branson, born on the 18th of July 1950, is an English business magnate, investor and philanthropist. He founded the Virgin Group, which controls more than 400 companies today. Richard Branson was 16 when he started a magazine called Student. 6 years later, he opened a chain of recording studios and stores called Virgin Records. The company's first song was a track called Tubular Bells by Mike Oldfield. The track was on the UK charts for 247 weeks. Branson's Virgin brand grew rapidly during the 1980s as he set up Virgin Atlantic Airline and expanded the record's music label. Now at 64, Branson is equal parts man, myth and legend. His Virgin Group is composed of 400 companies, employs 60,000 people and operates in more than 30 countries. He is an estimated net worth of $5 billion. Branson also has a flair for the dramatic. He's crossed the Atlantic Ocean in a hot air balloon and kite surfed across the English Channel. Here is an inspirational quote from the adventurous and wildly successful entrepreneur.
And that's a wrap of tonight's program. Don't forget to look us up on Facebook. You'll find us at BizFirst Review 360. I'm Nadim Majid. I'll see you again same time, same place next week. Good night and good luck.